Well, seeing as it's such a nice day today, what better to do than to have a look at my YouTube inbox? Alright, can we just disregard this video and pretend it doesn't exist? I don't know what I was even trying to say with it. It's essentially 10 minutes of shambled together arguments with no proper contention, the only takeaway being Wolfgang exists. It's old and it sucks. This video is new and hopefully it doesn't suck. Preface aside, Wigfrid's Refresh is here. The update adds a number of songs that buff Wigfrid and nearby teammates during combat, and that's about it. Especially when compared to other character updates, this one in particular is minimally impactful on Wigfrid's gameplay. And let me get this straight, this is a good thing, particularly so with Wigfrid. Wendy's rework is definitely the best example of fundamental changes to a character that were actually necessary. Changes like the Pokeball Abigail and the addition of the tonics fleshed out Wendy's character with some additional content and quality of life, which made playing her a much richer and more engaging experience. Wigfrid's rework, obviously, only contains one of these two things, that being additional content to play around with. It's much less impeding on the main gameplay loop of the relevant character than Wendy's, or hell, any other character rework that's been released so far. And again, this is a good thing. Out of every character, Wigfrid's one of those few who really wasn't in need of a rework. She already provided a complete gameplay experience, even when compared to post-rework or new characters. Strong upsides, a unique focus on combat support, and a strong downside definitely made her one of the most thorough and well thought out character designs of the entire roster, especially due to the strength of her personality and character design as well. That being said, her rework state has done anything but harm her. The support-oriented songs and spells flesh out the combat support aspect of her gameplay, which was previously only a thing because of her helmets, which could be made and shared with teammates. And although some of the spells are, well, questionably useful, in general they do provide some nice extra buffs during combat. So in this video I'll go over all of Wigfrid's spells, talk about how she fits into the game, and, well, that's about it. There really isn't heaps to talk about here, which is actually nice for a change. What we do have is good, and it's clear that the devs thought about what would actually benefit the character, and avoided creeping Wigfrid's scope by adding any bloat or unnecessary perks. Wigfrid's new songs cost inspiration to cast, which is a new meter appearing beside Wig's health, sanity, and hunger. Each song with an overtime effect will stay active until Wig's inspiration falls below a threshold. She can have up to 3 active at once, each threshold is marked by a notch on the inspo meter. Songs with an instant effect will consume 16.6 inspiration to apply the effect. Wigfrid gains inspiration by attacking mobs, and gains 3 times as much for attacking boss mobs, also receiving a small bonus for taking damage. If you care about the exact numbers, they're there on screen. To be honest, I've got better things to do than to read them out. I'm a TV, not a fax machine, for crying out loud. The weaponized warble is crafted with 1 papyrus, 1 feather pencil, and 1 sewing kit. It reduces durability drain on weapons by 25% while active. On paper, this doesn't sound like heaps, but with a high damage weapon with an expensive craft, such as the Dark Sword, that's 25 extra hits of 68 damage, for effectively free once you have the song crafted. Certainly nothing to scoff at. Heart-rending ballad is made with the usual pencil and paper plus a life-giving amulet. When active, it makes every attack leech 1 health from enemies, although only 0.5 for Wigfrid players. This is easily the strongest of all of Wigfrid's songs, applicable in every combat scenario that lasts long enough to build up 33 inspiration. That's about it. Free heals, cheap to craft, no ifs, no buts. With this spell active, you can solo bosses such as Dragonfly and Klaus with no healing whatsoever other than Wigfrid's base leech plus this spell. It's incredibly potent and worth pursuing as soon as possible. The clear-minded cadenza is made with the usual ingredients, plus a pair of moonmoth wings. It makes all nearby players leech 1 sanity per hit, stacking with Wigfrid's normal sanity leech. This boost is pretty neat. It can allow you to stay completely sane during fights like Deerclopses that have large sanity-draining auras. Additionally, the crafting cost does require a rather exotic material, so unless you're rushing the Lunar Island, it will take a while to get your hands on it. The Bel Canto of Courage is the second sanity affecting buff, and it's marginally less powerful than the cadenza, although there's nothing preventing you from using both. When active, it halves the sanity auras of nearby mobs, which allows you to stay near these mobs for much longer without going insane. Plenty useful for bosses such as Deerclops, who can easily disrupt your fight with their terrifying presence. This spell's drawback is definitely the crafting cost. It costs a Thursite medallion alongside the usual ingredients. The cost of 2 Thursite chunks isn't really worth the buffs in my opinion, but if you end up getting a free Thursite medal by using a lazy forager on a cave hole, it's absolutely worth making. The Fireproof Falsetto... why? This spell is pretty much useless. 33% fire resistance will only benefit you against 4 sources: Firehounds, Dragonfly, Klaus, and Willowmanes. For Firehounds, you can just not stand in the fires that they drop upon death. Dragonfly's fiery abilities can be neutered through the use of a panflute. Klaus is probably the only thing this spell is even marginally useful against. But again, if you're playing Wigfrid, you already have a 25% resistance against all sources of damage, including fire, for free. And not to mention, to craft the thing, you have to sail all the way out to the middle of Whoop Whoop to catch some stupid fish, and then sail all the way back, or when you could just make a single pierogi and be done with it. And as for dealing with Willowmanes, well, the ban button will do a better job. The final two spells instantly consume inspiration for a one-time effect. They are: the Rude Interlude will draw the aggro of all nearby enemies, except for bosses. This spell it's alright. It's a neat little tool to have in your pocket to make engaging certain foes easier. The crafting cost is a bit annoying. In most runs you're not going to want to make farms just to get a singular tomato. The Startling Soliloquy is also the same as the Interlude, except it makes enemies panic instead of aggro onto you. Again, it's sort of useful, but its crafting cost only requiring a purple gem makes it a bit more redeeming. To be honest, the main problems I have with the two instant cast spells is that it's hard to find scenarios wherein they're useful because of the inspiration cost. If I'm going to be attacking an enemy long enough to build 18 inspiration, chances are it's already dead, or it's a boss and I'm planning to kill it. Even for boss fights that have add summons mid-fight, such as Klaus and his gangs of Crampi, the Soliloquy only makes enemies panic for 4 seconds, after which time they're probably just going to re-aggro back onto you. In short, the instant cast spells are definitely not bad, but they're also not heart-rending ballad level either. So, that's all of Wigfrid's song items covered. Normally, with a character update such as this, I'd be mildly opposed to monotonously going over each item one by one, but there really isn't much else to talk about here, which, as previously stated, I think is a good thing. This update is more or less free from unnecessary perks or bloat, which is a refreshing change, especially after a couple of recent characters whom I could name. It's clear that the devs use their critical eye and refrain from adding anything that could take away from Wigfrid's core appeal. She can still only eat meat, there's no multiple role acting or anything like that, thank the heavens, and the new content is completely true to Wigfrid's story, a trueness which is amplified by the new animated short we got. Speaking of, it was good to actually see Maxwell again, and the text on screen thing again was really neat as well, but most important of all, it stays true to the original character, fleshes her out to a reasonable extent without revealing absolutely everything, still leaving Wigfrid with a reasonable amount of mystery. Good stuff, although the abrupt style change was a bit weird. Well, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a comment and share your thoughts on the new update. With videos like this, I always read every comment, so please be sure to leave one with your thoughts on Wigfrid's update. Not gonna lie, it does feel a bit weird to have so little to say about a character refresh, but hey, here we are. Check out my Twitch as well, we got emotes, we got badges, it's all good. Streaming Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 PM UTC. Wait, no, make that 11 AM UTC. Goddamn daylight savings, making everything confusing. Anyway, that's it for this video, so guess I'll see you next time.